Brand new Beatle LP called Abbey Road.
New album, Abbey Road.
Abbey Road.
First of all, congratulations on another super LP from the Beatles.
I personally like it better than the last one that we did,
You do?
the double album, yeah. So I like the songs a bit better. I think it's more of an LP. It's very good.
I think it's a very good album.
Is it in fact you wrote the song as well?
Yes.
I've heard whispers that it will be the next American single.
No, if anything, it might be the B-side, I think.
Now, the Come Together side is a fairly different song as far as the group's concerned.
The Come Together track.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened, I mean, I think it's pretty funky, I'm biased because it's my song, I dig it, and it just happened well, it's a nice funky sound on it.
What was the effect right at the beginning that we're going to hear in a minute, right at the beginning, the sort of whistling tone?
Oh, it's me going on tape echo.
All right, and sort of compressed then, isn't it?
No, it's not compressed, it's just, I was sort of going through my hands like that.
Great, okay, well, we'll hear it right now. Come Together.
Well, I like Come Together. That's a great one, which is John's one.
Yeah.
Start with the first one, Come Together.
Come Together. It was one of the ones, one of the last ones to be recorded, one of John's songs. John was in an accident, so he was off for a period of time, and then when he got back, which was only a week or so before we finished the album, we did this one. So I think he wrote it only a month or so ago, so it's very new. And it's sort of 12-bar type of tune, and it's one of the nicest sounds we've got, actually. Nice drumming from Ringo, and it's sort of up-tempo, I suppose you call it, a rocker beat, a boogie. Yeah,
How about
with very Lennon lyrics as well.
Side one, track number one, Come Together, which I understand is going to be released as a single in the United States.
Well, yes, so I'd only heard something was going to, I didn't know what was going to be on the B-side.
Right.
It is.
A very commercial sound. I think perhaps you'd like to tell us something about the track before
Oh,
we
Come Together?
Yeah.
Well, it was one of those tracks where we didn't know which way to do it at first. We tried several ways, and then, like all our tracks, we try them, and it didn't seem to work until we found this formula for it. It's like broken up because there's nothing going on steady all the way through. There's no straightforward. You know what I mean? There's nothing playing the same thing all the way through. We break it, or I break it with the drums, then bits of cymbal, and then bits like that. And we found that was the best way to do it. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. But here it is now, and let me get off.
Together. Something is a song of mine I wrote towards the end of the Beatles album, the White Album. I wrote it as we were still recording that album, but I never finished it off. I could never think of words for it. And also because there was a James Taylor song called Something in the Way She Moves, which is the first line of that, and so then I thought of trying to change the words, but they were the words that came when I first wrote it, so in the end I just left it as that and just called it Something. And actually I think Joe Cocker's recorded this song.
Oh, yeah.
Because when I wrote it, I imagined somebody like Ray Charles doing it. It's that's how the feel I imagined, but because I'm not Ray Charles, then I'm sort of much more limited in what I can do. Then it came out like this. It's nice. It's probably the nicest melody tune that I've written.
Now, the next track, I believe we were talking about earlier on, will also be released as an A-side, sort of a double A side in the United States. It's called Something. Now, who's responsible for this?
This is one of George's songs, and I think it's the best track on the album. For me personally, it's the soul track of this album for our house.
It's so fantastic. It's something very different from what George Harrison has written before. Not in a sense commercially speaking.
Yeah, well, George started writing love songs, and then he went out a bit and wrote about other things, like Taxman and you know, and Within You, Without You, and all those songs. And this one is another love song. It's a love song for me, George. And it's just fantastic, and let's play it, because there's nothing I can say about this. It's so great.
I think we probably put Something out as a single out there. I think that's about the best track on the album, actually, George's track. And they had it, you know how they always get our records before they're out over there somehow. We've got a spy in England who sends them the tapes.
Right.
And they were playing something so much they had an advance thing of it. They're red hot for it over there, so we'll probably release it over there as a single. I don't know what will happen here.
Now, there's the one that we were talking about a moment ago, which is Something, and I'm sure I agree that both George's songs on this LP are probably the most commercially written.
Yeah.
Is that a good or a bad thing?
I think it's very good, you know, because they're not sort of the good commercial, you know. They're still funky tracks, both of them, you know.
Yes, well, I'd imagine there'll be quite a few cover versions, as always, you know, for singles off this LP, and it would seem that...
Well, we'll get the first cover out, that's the point, you know, of Something.
I like Something, George writes. I think it's, for me, I think it's the best he's written.
Joan was quizzical, studied pataphysics.
Well, this is, if you go through the LP from top to bottom, it's Paul's first contribution, Maxwell's Silver Hammer, which is I don't know, it's fairly typical of a lot of songs Paul's written, John, do you think?
Yeah, it's a typical McCartney sing-along, or whatever you call them. No. He did quite a lot of work on it. I was ill after the accident when they did most of that track. And I believe he really ground George and Ringo into the ground, recorded it, you know.
Now that you're all obviously occupied in diverse facets of the business, are there any tracks that any of you sort of have done on your own, completely on your own on this LP, or have they been a collective effort at some point?
Not really. I wasn't on Maxwell. I think I was on everything else, you know. I was just away for that.
Okay, Maxwell's Silver Hammer, Paul McCartney.
And Maxwell's Silver Hammer is just something of Paul's, which we've been trying to record it. We spend a hell of a lot of time on it, and it's one of those that instant sort of whistle along tunes, which I don't know, some people will hate and some people will really love it. You know, it's more like sort of honey pie, you know, fun sort of song. But it's pretty sick as well, though, because the guy keeps killing everybody. But that was good because, you know, I had that synthesizer, and that's one of the tunes we use synthesizer on, which is pretty effective on this.
The next track is called Maxwell's Silver Hammer.
And it's one of Paul's songs, and it's his happy going 1920 Maxwell Silver Hammer.
Something along the lines of Off My Dear type of thing.
Well, more. Yes,
tinkling piano.
Yes, that's okay. And this one was I think the hardest track on the album to make.
Yeah.
Because we had a lot of trouble with this. I mean, this is the one we kept doing and putting it down and starting another one because it got so hard. Just because, you know, some tracks you can really just get into right away, and other tracks are just very, very hard, you know.
Yeah.
And this is the final cut, and I hope you like it.
Oh, darling.
Of course, this track, the next one, Oh Darling, is
Oh yeah, that's
sort of 58 job, isn't it?
yeah. Well, we like that stuff, you know. Oh darling.
So,
Oh Darling, to me, is another of Paul's songs, which is typical sort of 1950 to 60 period type of song, the chord structure and everything. It's really nice. You know, those groups, I can't think of the names.
Like the Moonglows and...
Yeah, you know, there was a period, there was hundreds of...
The Monotones.
Yeah, well, it's typical sort of 1955 type song.
Happiness is a Warm Gun, there was a feel of that.
Yeah, but the vocal group, that's it.
Yeah.
But this is more really just Paul singing. We do a few oohs in the background, which are, you can't, just very quietly, but it's mainly Paul shouting.
Oh Darling, it's like your blues, you know, it's the blues track on the album. It's Paul's blues voice.
Yeah.
And it's a powerful track. No. That's a Liverpool expression.
Thank you.
It's all right.
Okay. All right. It's called Octopus's Garden, and frequently under Beatles songs, titles, we see in brackets Lennon McCartney, and under this one we see Starr. You don't write many compositions, so why is this, Ringo?
Well, I find them very hard, especially when you can only play 3 chords on the piano.
You yourself play a bit of piano?
Yes, just in C. I'll play anything in C as long as it's a 12 bar. And this all came about one fine afternoon on holiday, and the guy was telling me a story about octopuses, how they make gardens. And it knocked me out so much that I just wrote a song about it.
How do octopuses make gardens?
Well, they go around the seabed and they pick up all the shiny things and nice things on the seabed and put them in front of them, you know, which is fantastic.
Yeah, this intrigued you, did it?
Yes, and so I thought, well, that's nice, and I'd like to go there. Yeah. And I'm sure a few of my friends would like to go there, and that's what the song's all about.
There's basically sort of a children's rhyming type thing, sort of sing-along type song.
Yes, it's like children's because it's very simple words and nothing complicated. Mm-hmm. It's just a nice little song, and I'm very proud of it. I started it last November.
Yeah.
And I finished it about May. It takes me quite a while. That's why I only write a few. I only write like 2 a year.
But it's worthwhile. We're going to listen to it.
Ringo's track is the next one, The Octopus's Garden, which reminded me, for some reason, of the Yellow Submarine cartoon film.
Yeah, well, I think it's the bubble, you know, and the fact that it's under the sea bit.
I suppose it is, really.
Yeah.
It doesn't have any other connection.
No, except it's about the bottom of the sea, you know, and getting away from it all.
And this is, in fact, the only song that Ringo wrote.
Yeah, well, it'll be a few years before his production is going as fast as ours. It took George a few years.
And is this the only track on the LP that Ringo sings on as well, John?
Yeah, I think he does a bit of harmony here and there, because at the time I was away, they laid a few harmony tracks on some of the medley bit.
Oh, yes.
You know, so I think Ringo's doing a bit of harmony here and there, too.
It's a sing-along sort of song.
It's a ring-along, sing-along.
Yeah, it's very good, folks.
Yes.
Octopus's Garden.
Octopus's Garden is Ringo's song. Is the second song Ringo wrote, and it's lovely. You know, it's again like Ringo. He gets bored, you know, playing the drums, and at home he plays a bit of piano, but he only knows about 3 chords, and he knows that's the same on guitar. And so the main music he likes is country and western. So it's really got a country and western feel, you know, and. I think it's a really great song because on the surface it's like a Daft Kid song, but the lyrics are great, really. For me, you know, I find very deep meaning in the lyrics, which Ringo probably doesn't see, but all the thing like resting our head on the seabed and something, we'll be warm beneath the storm. Which is really great, you know, because it's like this level is a storm, and it's always, you know, if you get sort of deep in your consciousness, it's very peaceful. So Ringo's writing his cosmic songs without noticing.
She's so heavy.
Correct.
Right. I suppose it is the heaviest track on the LP, if we're going to get into that, bagism, is it?
Yeah. It's pretty heavy, the ending, you know. Could we use the Moog synthesizer on it?
Oh, that's what all that electronic bit is.
The range of the sound is from, you know, minus whatever to way over where you can't hear it, you know. That machine, the Moog synthesizer, can do all sound, you know, all ranges of sound, so we did that on the end. So if you're a dog, you could hear a lot more.
So any dogs listening, we'll get this together.
Yes.
I Want You, the last one on this side is I Want You bracket She's So Heavy. It gets sort of it is very heavy, and it's John plays lead guitar and sings the same as he plays, and this is good because it has it's really basically a bit like a blues. The riff that he sings and plays is really a very basic blues type thing, but again it's very original sort of John type song. But you thought I'd written it. Right. Sorry. I've got to admit that. And the middle bit's great. John has an amazing thing with his timing. He always comes across with sort of different timing things, like example, all you need is love, nothing you can do that can't be done, dun 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 dun, a song, which just sort of skips beats out and changes from 3 4 4 4, you know, all in and out of each other. But when you question him as to what it is, he doesn't know, he just does it naturally, and once you try and pin it down, he, you know, and this has got, the bridge section of this is a bit like that. It's got a really very good chord sequence that he uses.
Now, the last track on side one is entitled I Want You, She's So Heavy, and this in itself, by itself, is probably the longest track on the LP, being 7 minutes in length.
Yes, that's right. This was one that we did while we were finishing the last album, and it was like one of the sessions where we just carried on the end till we fell apart.
Yeah.
And that's why, you know, that's why all our ends, we usually, when we do a track anyway, once we get to the end, we just play it and play it, just in case we get some magic. And I think we got a bit of magic in this one, because it's really good.
Right. Sort of a bluesy thing featuring
John on this one.
Yeah, and another Lennon McCartney composition.
Yes, another Lennon composition.
Okay.
Well, they're all classed as Lennon and McCartney compositions, you know.
Yeah.
But usually these days, one or other has done the work on it.
Side 2, Here Comes the Sun, is the other song that I wrote on the album. And it was written on a nice sunny day this early summer in Eric Clapton's garden, because we'd been through really hell with business, and, you know, it's very heavy. And on that day I just felt as though I was sagging off, like, from school. It was like that. I just didn't come in one day, and just the release of being in the sun, and it was just really nice day. And that song just came. It's a bit like If I Needed Someone, and, you know, like that basic sort of, the riff going through it is the same as, you know, all those Bells of Rimney sort of bird type thing. Yeah. Well, that's how I see it anyway. But quite simple tune.
We sort of get to turn the record over, and the second George Harrison track is Here Comes the Sun, which is again another very catchy melodic song.
Yeah, it reminds me of sort of Buddy Holly in a way. You know.
Yes, I see what you mean. It's certainly that very strong melody line again. Is there any, I don't suppose there is any reason for when people write songs, but it seems such a dramatic change for George.
I don't know, you know. I mean, it's just the way he's progressing. He's writing all kinds of songs, you know. I mean, once the door opens, it's the floodgates open, you know. You can't sort of... It's an effort to concentrate on writing certain kinds of songs, you know. Like, I prefer writing just non-melodic, straight rock, but I can't help writing other things, you know, and I think that applies to all of us. Just the songs just come out, you know.
John, when you got this LP together, did you select from like a large number of tracks, or did you virtually have a, you know...
Not from a large number of tracks, from a large number of songs, you see. Each of us have got, you know, maybe about 10 songs to contribute to an album. You can't get them all on, so when it's your turn to record, as it were, you've got to sort of pick the one you want on most, really.
And so then, I suppose it gets to a point of musical balance of the LP too, does it?
Yeah, it gets into that.
Right. George Harrison's song, it's called Here Comes the Sun.
We've come to the side 2, and track number 1, side 2, is entitled Here Comes the Sun. Maybe you'd like to tell us something about this track, how it came to be, and who's on it.
This is the second one of George's tracks on the album. And we just went in one day and he said, I've got this little song called Here Comes the Sun. And we said, right, let's go. And we recorded it. There's sort of nothing startling about the way we recorded this, you know.
Right. George Harrison, I believe, has written quite a few songs in the past few years, but there's only a few of them that have actually been recorded. Why is this?
Well, it's usually whoever sort of pushes the hardest gets most songs, you know. And I think George was feeling at one time, like I feel occasionally, that the other two write such great songs that, you know, you don't really like to fetch out your little song and say, how about this? But that's all over now, and if I've got now, I pull them out, and if George has got me, he pulls them out, and we just do them all now. There's none of that.
Right. You're all represented on this LP, so here's the second George Harrison composition called Here Comes the Sun.
The next track is another song of yours, John. It's called Because, and
Yes.
I seem to detect some sort of classic overtone in this. Is this by design, or...?
Yeah, sort of, you know. Yoko plays classical piano, and she was playing one day, and I don't know whether it was Beethoven or something. I said, give me them chords backwards. And I wrote Because on it, on top of it. Moonlight Sonata, backwards.
Backwards.
Something like that.
It also had the harmony structure is also slightly different from some of the harmonies that you've used in recording before.
I wouldn't know, you know. I mean, I just asked George Martin or whoever's around, saying, what's the alternative to thirds and fifths? They're the only ones I know. And he plays them on the piano. We say, oh, we'll have that one, you know. So I couldn't tell you what they are. I just know it's harmony. You know.
Right. Well, this is also a very long song, isn't it?
It isn't, you know. It's only. It's amazing. It's the shortest one on the album. It's only about 2 minutes, something.
Oh, well, of course, it sort of gets into the... I see what you mean.
It stops, and then he goes into the medley. Yeah.
Ah, right. Now, well, let's get into it right now, and we'll talk about the medley in a moment. It's the song called Because.
And I like Because on the second side.
Why did you use the lyric "Turn Me On" and "Blow My Mind" in that particular song? I rather felt that sounded a bit passé in 1969 because it's been used so much in the past.
Yes, well, they were John's lyrics. But I think, you know, if they'd have been straight... Yeah, so I'm not taking any blame, but no. If they'd have been used just straight, if it had been "You turn me on, you blow my mind," okay, that would have been passé. But to say that because the world is round, it turns me on, it's great. You know?
Yes,
it's
I
like
see.
Well, it's not fantastic, but it's
No.
as good as
That's
good enough for me, you know.
Yeah,
And because the wind is high, it blows my mind.
Yeah.
You know, it's much better than "You blow my mind, baby, honey bunch."
Because is one of the most beautiful tunes, and I think it's 3-part harmony. John, Paul and George all sing it together. John wrote this tune. It's a bit like, the backing's a bit like Beethoven, and 3-part harmony right throughout.
It sounds very much like a Paul McCartney song rather than John. As in the
Yeah,
past, you know.
well, yeah, because of the sweetness of it. Paul usually writes the sweeter tunes, and John writes the sort of more the rave-up things or the freakier things, but this is the thing, you know, John gets into where he doesn't want to, you know, he just wants to write 12 bars, but you can't deny, I think this is possibly my favourite one on the album, because it's just so simple, the lyrics are so simple, the harmony was pretty difficult to sing it, we, you know, had to really learn it, but I think that's one of the tunes that will impress most people, you know, like hip people will dig it too, but straight through all the straight people will dig it, and the music people will dig it, you know, it's really good.
This side is built up very gently, and then it gets a little rockier to the end.
Well, no, it doesn't really get rockier, it gets just more powerful.
Yeah.
Because on this one, it's John's song again, and there's no percussion on this one. It's all guitars, piano, and strings and things like that. You know, there's no heavy percussion at all, and lots of voices, harmonies.
Okay, well, we'll get into the first part of the medley, which is, well, as we get into this is a sort of another scene with Paul and this piano.
Yes.
First part. Was this Paul on piano?
Oh, he's always on piano. You can't get him off.
Okay, you never give me money.
Right.
The next...
Then begins the sort of big medley of Paul and John's songs all shoved together. You Never Give Me Your Money. It's really hard. You have to hear this because it does like two verses of one tune, and then it goes, the sort of bridge of it is like a different song altogether, which goes out of that into, this is quite melodic and stuff.
Now this track coming up is a montage of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different tracks, different little tracks, all in one little piece. And
well, that, I mean, I really don't think we could go through all them individually. I mean, it came about because John and Paul usually find that they have like 1,000 first verses, and they haven't finished the song. So this is mainly just like a verse and a chorus, which they've just put all together and made it into, 8 little songs.
Right.
And it starts with You Never Give Me Your Money, which was one of Paul's, and it starts slow and then it gradually builds up, and it's a bit of a rocker,
My contribution to it is Polythene Pam and here, Sun King and me and Mr. Mustard, so we just juggled them about till it made vague sense. And in Polythene Pam, me and Mr. Mustard, I said his sister Pam, and originally it said his sister Shirley in the lyrics, so I changed it to Pam and make it sound like it had something to do with it.
Track in the medley is the Sun King song.
That's where we pretend to be Fleetwood Mac for a few minutes.
And then you get into a sort of a language thing, which I couldn't figure out if it was some type of...
it's cod,
yeah.
See, we did the introductions, we call it the sun riff, the little instrumental bit that's like Fleetwood Mac before we start singing. Then we did it again on the end, so when we came to sing it, to make them different, so it wasn't just the same riff, we just started joking, sing Cuando para mucho. So we just made up, Paul knew a few Spanish words from school, so we just strung any Spanish words that sounded vaguely like something. And of course we got chickaferdy, and that's a Liverpool expression, just like sort of, it doesn't mean anything, but it's chickaferdy. The one we missed, we should have had paranoia, but we forgot all about it. We used to call ourselves Los Paranoias.
And so then, what's the sort of any idea behind Sun King? Does that have any sort of symbolism, or is it just...
No, it was just half a song I had, which I never finished, which was one way of getting rid of it without ever finishing it, And it sort of, the sort of medley went, and then we sort of wanted a change of atmosphere, so then here comes the Sun King, why not? And here he comes, and everybody's happy, and... Cuando para mucho, etc., etc.
Paranoias.
Yeah, we might get hit with that in those countries, if they take it off separate.
Could be a smash in Brazil.
Yeah, right.
The Sun King.
And cake and eat it is another nice line too, because they have that in Spanish, quejan or something. So we just have cake and eat it.
Okay, well, we'll hear the track now called Sun King. Mean Mr. Mustard reminded me of the sort of songs that are probably about the Revolver time, I think. It was that sort of tempo and that sort of...
Yeah.
Was it a song that you had from way back, or...?
I wrote it in India, so that was pre the Beatles double album, so it's that old. And it was from some newspaper clipping that the title was Mean Mr. Mustard, about some guy had done something or other. But of course the story's nothing like him, it was like the newspaper title heading.
Yeah, because in fact it's quite short as well.
Yeah, well that's another half a song which I never finished, so I put it in there.
Mean Mr. Mustard.
But then Sun King is a bit of sort of John's thing, which has got a funny bit. It's like, I think John called this one Los Paranoias.
Oh, yes.
Mean Mr. Mustard, John wrote, and Polythene Pam, I think he wrote both of those in India about 18 months ago.
goes into sunking, which is, as I keep reading, everyone keeps saying it's like Albatross, and it is, But Albatross was great, and I hope you think this is as good. And that was John's, and Mean Mr. Mustard, which is John's as well, is one of, you'll tell it's one of John's when you hear it.
From Mean Mr. Mustard straight to Polythene Pam, who turned out to be Mean Mr. Mustard's sister. And this is sort of getting back into your actual rock and roll again, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit like everything, in a way, sort of not fade away, and some, summertime blues and everything. That's another half a song I wrote in India, about a kinky girl in a polythene bag,
It was pre-bagism days, too, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yes. Polythene bags.
See-through polythene bag.
Yeah, right. That's what she wears, See her in drag in a polythene bag.
Okay, well, we'll just take a look at Polythene Pam. Well, she came in through the bathroom window. I read somewhere in the press that this was an idea that Paul had about, I think, during one of the American tours, a fan did this. Was it any truth in that?
It was when Paul and I went to America to publicise Apple about 2 years ago to announce the opening. And we were just in the flat we were staying in, and he just came out with that line, She came in through the bathroom window, so he'd had it for years, so he eventually finished it.
And so this was another song that was sort of started back then?
Yeah, most of them are, except for the You Never Give Me Your Money and Golden Slumbers.
Mm. So she came in through the bathroom window, Look out.
Came in through the bathroom window is a very good song of Paul's, with good lyrics. It's really hard to explain what they're about.
Polythene Pam is John's again.
And this is an interesting track. She came in through the bathroom window.
So that's when we get down into Paul's again. She came in through the bathroom window. And she certainly did. And they all join up with each other, and you'll hear the little stories when we play all these tracks to you.
Once there was a way.
I think a lot of people might be surprised that you sort of dared to take Golden Slumbers, the well-known lullaby, and give it a new variation. I enjoyed it very much, but what made you decide to do that? Because the Beatles have never done that before, have they?
No.
Taken another tune or lyrics?
No. Well, I'll tell you, I was just playing the piano in Liverpool, my dad's house, and my sister Ruth's piano book, she was learning piano, and those sort of with Do You Ken John Peel and Golden Slumbers and your old favourites, was up on the thing, this stand, there's a little book with all those words in it and stuff. So I was just flicking through it, and I came to Golden Slumbers, So I just started, because I can't read music, so I didn't know the tune. I can't remember the old tune, So I started just playing my tune to it. And then I liked the words, so I just kept that, and then it fitted with another bit of song I had, which is the verse in between it, so I just made that into a song. It just happened because I was reading a book.
On to Golden Slumbers and strings this time, John.
Yeah. Paul laid the strings on after we'd finished most of the basic track,
Yeah, it seems to me that I think a lot of people had expected that you would perhaps become more complex with, musical additions on this LP, but...
Well, I don't know what, they shouldn't expect anything. I personally can't be bothered with strings and things, I like to do it with the group,
Yeah, because...
whatever, or with electronics, I can't be able to go into that hassle with musicians and all that bit, it's such a drag, trying to get them together, but Paul digs that, so that's his scene.
Yeah.
So, it was up to him where he went with the violins, really, what he did with them. And I think he just wanted a straight kind of backing, nothing freaky. The White Trash have made a single out of this, folks.
And, have they used strings on it? Or?
Yeah, they've used strings, and they've done some... It's pretty similar to the track we did, except they've done some nice things with a big organ, like a church organ playing a solo or something.
That is also rather different for them, because they've been enormously sort of gutsy and...
Yeah, well, they've done it quite gutsy, The song is sort of vaguely gospel-y, in a way. You know, sleep, little darling, don't you cry. All that bit is a bit gospelly.
And were any of you involved with the production of this? Or?
Not of the White Trash, no, they did it completely. I don't know who produced it, you know. But they had a good start, the Beatles album.
Yes, it's true, so it's...
So they've done a good job of it. I hope they get a hit.
Right, so we'll hear the Beatles singing Golden Slumbers. Get to the track now called Carry That Weight, which I think sort of features everybody.
Yes, that's the sort of... what's really like the Maxwell Silver Hammer story again, really. Like, we've all got a great load to carry, you know. But that's part of Golden Slumbers, really.
Yeah, well, yes, yeah. It's a sort of a logical follow, isn't it?
Yeah, it's sort of the one song, really. That's the sort of chorus of Golden Slumbers.
And this has also been covered by somebody, I read.
Well, no, White Trash has done... we keep going back to this all the time, but they've done Golden Slumbers, including Carry That Weight, you know, as the one song.
Oh, I see. Right. And was this one that you all wrote, or was this a...
No, it's Paul's line.
This is Paul's line. Fine.
As far as I know, you know.
Nobody's told you otherwise.
No, I mean, it could be George or Ringo for all I know, but I presume it's Paul.
Okay, Carry That Weight.
Anyway, and Golden Slumbers, which they all these link up. Golden Slumbers is another very melodic tune of Paul's, which is very nice. Carry That Weight is as if it's part of Golden Slumbers. In fact, Carry That Weight keeps coming in and out of it different times.
And then it sort of slows down a bit after that into Golden Slumbers, which is nice, like heavy lullaby. You know, if you could sleep through it, it'd be a miracle. And then Carry That Weight is like two bits altogether. You know, two distinctly different bits, and we all sing, "Boy, you're going to carry that weight," in unison when those parts come in.
And now we sort of move fairly logically to the end, which was what, just a way to finish it up, wasn't it?
Get out of that.
Yeah.
So we got
a way to close the show.
Yes.
And the end is just the end. It's just a little sort of sequence which ends it all. And you really have to hear all that.
And to finish it off, because everything has an end, or every album has an end, we did a track called The End, and it finishes it.
Her Majesty's a pretty nice girl, but she doesn't have a lot to say.
And what about the reference to the Queen? What made you put that on the LP? That's caused a lot of surprises. Very nice, but it was, a lot of people didn't know it was there.
I saw your column in the daily newspaper.
I wish I could have got a hold of you.
That was just, I don't know, I was in Scotland, and I was just writing this little tune. I can never tell, like, how tunes come out. I just wrote it as a joke, I wrote this tune, and it happened to start off, Her Majesty's a pretty nice girl. She doesn't have a lot to say. So I just wrote those little, I wrote a few more lines with it. And just as a little sort of joke tune, Her Majesty, I thought of it as the Queen, just because I'd think of that as Her Majesty. Well, it was around about the time the royal family was on telly too.
Yes.
That big film about them. You could refer, like they refer to a girl as... lady or girl or, like Lady Madonna or just some sort of name, to call a girl. It could be that too, like Her Majesty, worshipping your girlfriend or your wife.
Yes, I see. So it's not to be taken too seriously.
Not really, you can if you like. Yeah. I don't.
Yes.
And there's really not much more to be said about that, but we will come back after we...
What about Her Majesty?
Well, why don't we play the end first, and then...
Okay, right.
Well, then we'll let the silence run and do that.
Oh, yeah, so you're going to do it properly, okay.
Well, Her Majesty's a very fine girl, and one day I'm going to make her mine. It's got to be a fairly strong line, I think. Actually, when the double LP was released, at the time I did a similar program with Paul.
Yeah.
He played this to me.
Oh, did he?
At that time, yeah. In fact, it was on that tape. when we were sort of just getting levels and things. And,
I see. Well, I think he did it again for this.
Yes, well, I'm sure he did, but he decided to sort of throw it away.
Yeah, he's had it round. You know, we always have tons of bits and pieces, you know, lying around for years. I've got stuff that I wrote around Pepper, you know, just still, because you start to lose interest in it a bit after you've had it for years, so I've never recorded it.
Do you ever sort of consider, giving this material to anybody else to record?
Yes, I keep meaning to. There's just one particular song I keep meaning to make a demo of, you know, to give to somebody or other, but I never get round to it, you know. So no doubt somebody will hound me for it now. I've said this.
Yes, I'm sure they will. The fact that Her Majesty isn't listed on the sleeve is that any particular reason?
We'd like to have a joke at the end, you know, or a surprise, like on the end of what was it, Pepper or the Beatles? The Beatles double. Just something.
There was one on the end of Pepper, I can remember.
Yeah, and wasn't the...
Which was something at double speed.
Yeah, was that the
like
one everybody thought was something obscene?
Yes, that's right.
It never was, you know.
All sorts of conjecture
about
that.
If you play it backwards and all that.
Yeah, all that scene, yeah.
Well, we listened to it backwards. It seemed to say something obscene, but we had no idea. It's just one of those things. So this is another one of them, you know.
Okay.
But there's a little surprise if you let your record player carry on playing without turning it off.
A little surprise.
A little surprise. Yes, it's our... We won't tell our answer to God Save the Queen.
Oh, I've told you. Oh, my.